What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast, a surprise episode of the Sports PSP podcast. I am your host, Sports PSP. Hope everyone's enjoying a fantastic weekend. Hope everyone has a beautiful day tomorrow, going to work, going to school. Got to do everything to get your grind on, got to do everything to make sure you have the best grades, working, making sure you have enough money, just another day that the good Lord always blesses us with. And of course, I can't do the Sports PSP pod without my main man, all the way from Columbus, Georgia. He is the four-time college degree champion. He is our military man and veteran. He is the Al Roker of journalism. He is the young Charles Barkley, coming off a fantastic birthday weekend. Shout out to Mama Champ. Shout out to his sister. His UGA Georgia Bulldogs beat Ole Miss last night. Had a great birthday gift, two birthday gifts. Of course, he is a love for the ladies, the love chocolate, as they often call him from time to time. He's the Black Peter Griffin. He's the Black Eric Cartman. He's all that in a bag of chips. The one and only undisputed world champ, the big fella. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Yeah, watching your guys and watching a lot of things on television. Yeah, I was wrong, but yeah, it's been a good day, man. Had a big breakfast this morning, man. Woke up, orange juice, pancakes, all the works, man. Birthday breakfast was real good. So, hey, man, can't complain. God bless me to have another year. And guess what, man? I'm grateful for it, man. But as we all know, have the Undisputed Goat podcast, less than an hour from right about now, and I'm just excited to get everything popping at this point.
Absolutely. And always, I will definitely comment, and I'll definitely share. As always, even though I may not always be on the Undisputed Go podcast, don't think for one second that Sports PSP isn't doing anything behind the scenes, making sure that the big man, the big fella, is getting his recognition and due. But, champ, you and I, you mentioned not only you were wrong, I was wrong as well, particularly with the Eagles Vikings pick. We picked Minnesota. Shout out to our good fella, BRF Sports. He picked Philadelphia. I don't know what more could you ask from Jalen Hurts in that game, because Minnesota, they had chances to win that game, and Carson Wentz, for whatever reason, he just made dumb, dumb choices. I mean, the pick six, okay, I can understand the pick six because you were about to get hit, but that second interception that he threw, terrible. And Minnesota Vikings, their defense, they tried to do everything they could to put pressure on Jalen Hurts. They did their part containing Saquon Barkley, but the trio, Jalen, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith had a career high as far as receiving yards, 9 for a buck 83, a touchdown, including that 79-yard touchdown. A.J. Brown better not be complaining about getting his targets or his numbers. 4 catches, 121 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. But Jalen Hurts, a quarterback who is underrated, doubted, disrespected, 19 to 23, 326 yards. This is his first time in over a year he's had a 300-yard or more passing performance, 3 touchdown passes, and a perfect passer rating of 158.3. You got to tip your hat off to Jalen Hurts, because without Jalen Hurts, how would the Philadelphia Eagles be? Again, this is not the time to question whether if he's top 5, top 10. It's just the time to acknowledge, let's just give the man his due. Let's do that. Can we at least do that? Can we at least acknowledge that he's a damn good football player? Someone that the Philadelphia Eagles are more than proud to have him as their signal caller. It's really not that complicated, big fella. But you got to give your hats to Philadelphia. Got to give your hats to Jalen Hurts, especially A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I am concerned, however, with the Eagles with them injuries, because they're accumulating. And again, you look at the Giants Broncos game, the NFC East is open. So it's still open. It's still a chance for anybody. But what were your thoughts on the Eagles Vikings game? Because man, Jalen Hurts, hell of a performance.
When it comes to Jalen Hurts, we all need to just be quiet. Enjoy what we're seeing. Look, I understand this, and I say this all the time. It's not the prettiest. He doesn't throw the nicest ball. His game, although he's a scrambling and a running quarterback, is not as smooth or as pretty as Lamar Jackson's or Josh Allen, something of that nature. But he gets the job done when he needs to get it done. I feel like a lot of times we kind of nitpick at it. He's kind of easy to pick at because he does have all these weapons around him. But let's keep this in mind. There's a lot of players who have those same weapons who are not winning. Keep it all the way above. And so, and the thing is, I feel like when we talk about Jalen Hurts, we often have to regurgitate the same information over and over and over again. Because the thing is, when it matters, he's coming through. And the Vikings are not a this is not one of those, Oakland Raider, Las Vegas Raider defenses that they're going through.
Brian Flores knows a thing or two about defense.
Yes, and the personnel that they have on that team. Wow. So for him to be able to deliver and with them keying in on the running game now more than ever, I don't think people are recognizing that. When you have a 2,000-yard rusher, they're going to key in on you now after that 2,000-yard year more than ever. They're going to key in on you. So, and look, people talk about the system. Jalen Hurts has had 5 different offensive coordinators in the last 4 years. So it's going to take some time during the course of the season to get used to a new offense. Do you know how difficult it is to learn a new offense in this league? Brand new. And now imagine that year after year after year. In the last 3 years, he's had 3 different offensive coordinators. So it's going to take some time for them to get in sync with this offense. It's going to take some time. So you have to ask yourself, was this the day that they finally was able to bring it all the way through and say, okay, here's the time. The time is now. Let's go ahead and let's push on through it. They were able to get A.J. Brown the ball. They were able to get the other wide receivers the ball. They were able to be a factor in the passing game like no other time during the course of the season. I think we need to pump the brakes on wanting instant success, I will say. We all want that instant gratification. We all want it. We all want to be able to say he's going to go out here and throw for over 300, 400 yards today. And he just learned a new offense this early this year. He went from Shane Steichen to Bryant Johnson, then Kellen Moore. Now he has another one this year. What does people think that's going to happen? It's different. Look, when you go through a whole nother playbook, there's different paces, different language, different footsteps, different drops as a passer that you have to go through. It's not the same. But I always say this, Jalen Hurts needs, and Jalen Hurts, he always performs when he has to. He always is clutch when he needs to be. Like I stated, he's the modern day Troy Aikman, except he's a hell of a lot more athletic. Because Troy Aikman received the same criticism. He has a stacked team, even to this day in history. He has a stacked team. He has the all-time leading rusher. He had Michael Irvin. He had this guy. Anybody could and anybody couldn't do it on that stacked team. Remember, they tried to do it with Steve Walsh. Didn't work. So just acknowledge him. And whether he's top 5, top 10, that's up to discretion, because I believe that's strictly narrative based. But he wins when he has to. And that's all that matters that a quarterback does. He wins. Like I always say, in the great words of Dallas head coach Jimmy Johnson, don't be pretty, be good.
I would say Russell Wilson as well too, champ, because Russell Wilson, when the Seattle Seahawks were winning, he wasn't getting enough credit. Because there were times you focused on the Legion of Boom defense, you focused on Pete Carroll, you also focused on beast mode. There was one particular game before the second Super Bowl champ, Russell Wilson, that NFC Championship game, he threw like 4 picks, but he was able to persevere and threw the game-winning touchdown in that overtime game against the Green Bay Packers. I also think he's also the modern-day Russell Wilson or Troy Aikman, because, again, they're stacked with great teams. but they're not getting the credit or recognition they deserve because they feel like if we put anybody under those circumstances, they would have done the exact thing and more. But we don't know. We'll probably may never know. But until we do, maybe we just got to give credit where credit is due. Where I have a problem with some Eagles fans who shall remain nameless is that they make the argument for Jalen Hurts. Oh, see, this is why he's top two. This is why he's top three. That's the problem I have with some in the media and podcasters such as ourselves, because we do kind of get caught up into that type of stuff, champ. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. We do. I just think this is not the time or the day to do that. This is just the time or the day to acknowledge, hey, he had a hell of a football game. The Vikings had several chances to come back into that game. The Eagles defense did enough with the turnovers, and Jalen Hurts did not make any mistakes. He took care of the football. He's thrown 11 touchdowns. I'm reading the stats right now with Jalen Hurts. You look at it, his numbers, nearly 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, one interception, a 108.9 passer rating. He's asked to do much more for this offense because of Saquon Barkley, because Saquon is not playing to the standard like last year. And it's hard for Saquon to do given the type of historic season that he had. You mentioned it on my pod, I think last week or a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Running backs who've had historic seasons, they regress. Jamal Lewis, Chris Johnson, countless others. So we can't expect Saquon Barkley to have another type of historic season. We do expect him to produce because he's still one of the elite running backs in the NFL. Although at this particular point, champ, right now, I think Bijan Robinson of your Atlanta Falcons right now is the best running back in the NFL. And also, too, because of the Madden curse and everything else. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Sorry to bring up Madden curse, but hey, I mean, people may make that argument. But either way, just got to give credit where credit is due to Jalen Hurts. Regardless of the circumstances, he finds ways to win. And that's really not that hard to admit or acknowledge. So just got to give credit where credit is due, man. As far with the Vikings, turnovers. And I don't know what's going to happen because we don't know whether JJ McCarthy may play, and the jury, the jury's still out on him because again, durability problems. But at the same time, I don't want Carson Wentz because he's prone to make mistakes. And this afternoon was the latest example.
Basically, you put it all in a nutshell right there because I'm hoping that JJ comes back and I know people are going to hold that Atlanta game against him, but keep in mind,
That
we
was a
did
hell of a defense.
exactly. And I know people are holding that against, but mind you, we just did the same thing to Josh Allen, and we all know he's a top two quarterback. So don't
No
hold that.
shame.
No shame. Um, look, I'm hoping that I got to be honest. They haven't had they haven't had a quarterback since a stable quarterback that wasn't injured or in and out of lineup. They haven't had a stable quarterback since Dante Culpepper for more than
Yeah.
5 years. And they haven't had a quarterback for 15, 20 years, with the exception of Fran Tarkenton. They haven't had that one. It's always been a revolving door with Minnesota. They've drafted great defensive players, great offensive players. They've drafted great running backs, and they've
Wide
done a hell
receivers.
of a job at the wide receiver position. But they just don't have a quarterback that's going to that just can stabilize them. And that's what I'm hoping that JJ can eventually come back and do. But for now, yeah, Carson Wentz, you was able to see, that's the reason why you ain't at Philadelphia anymore.
And that's also the reason why Jalen Hurts was drafted in the second round. Because again, they moved on from Nick Foles, and Carson Wentz already had durability problems.
Yeah. Not to mention interception problems.
Yeah, in 2020, you led the NFL in turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and another indictment on Carson Wentz, you had an opportunity in Indianapolis, your first year there. Frank Wright, your former offensive coordinator from Philadelphia, he admitted he did his part just to bring you there. You had the right type of circumstances, the offensive line, Jonathan Taylor. It was tailor made for you to flourish. And you couldn't even win that last game against Jacksonville given all the circumstances they went through that season with Urban Meyer, such as him kicking the kicker, the aftermath of the game against Cincinnati when he was at that club, all the things that transpired under Jacksonville, and you couldn't even do that and win that game. So that's exactly why he's where he is at this point. But just got to give credit where credit is due with Jalen Hurts. But speaking of another quarterback, particularly from Alabama, I called the champ with Miami versus Cleveland.
Tua turned the ball over.
31-6. I said on Thursday night, if the Miami Dolphins had an embarrassing performance and a loss to this Cleveland Browns, and shout out to the Cleveland Browns, Quinshawn Jenkins had a hell of a game, 3 rushing touchdowns. Definitely one of the candidates for Offensive Rookie of the Year, depending if Emeka Ibuka can come back and perform to the level he's capable of. But you got to throw Quinshawn Jenkins in that conversation, champ.
Yeah.
But it's over for Mike McDaniel. I would not be surprised at all he's fired. I mean, and for Tua, I mean, last week you ran your mouth. You threw teammates under the bus. You did apologize, but the building was already burnt. There's no repair. And I think it's time for the Miami Dolphins to move on from Tua Tagovailoa and go with actually Quinn Ewers. Doesn't matter if Quinn Ewers is going to be the guy for the Miami Dolphins. I could care less about that. And Miami is stuck anyway because you already gave Tua that contract. But if you look at Tua, 12 for 23, 100 yards, an average of 4.3 yards per attempt, 3 interceptions, a passer rating of 24.1, and a QBR on a scale of 0 to 100 in that game, champ, 3.4. He has thrown 11 touchdowns to only 10 interceptions. Right now, he's at the top as far as with turnovers, interceptions. He's on pace to throw 27 touchdowns to 24 interceptions. That was prior to today's game. And it's only going to get worse. Who knows? He may try to go for 30 like Jameis. Champ, this was embarrassing. The defense got embarrassed against this Cleveland Browns team with a rookie in Dylan Gabriel. It's only going to get worse. Mike McDaniel has to be fired. I don't know who's the interim head coach, but they need to move on from Mike McDaniel because he's reached his limit in Miami. And Tua has reached his limit as well. Only thing with Miami, you hope that they get themselves a good draft pick so that they can get either Ty Simpson or Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. What are your thoughts?
You know what? Let me pause for a second. Moment of silence, because I'm going to just be real. Moment of silence, because the thing is this. It's time for us to start acknowledging a lot of things. Tua Tagovailoa is a prime example of teams getting way too thirsty when it comes to quarterbacks. They're thirsty. It's just like they will do, once they see a quarterback, he has a decent arm, or he can perform decently. Teams go wild. Oh my God, we got to sign him. And I remember saying this on your pod in particular. Do not sign him to a long-term deal.
Right, you said
that. I remember myself saying that.
You said it. You were very adamant about it.
He has durability issues. He can't perform on the road. The situation has to be perfect for him at a certain point. And he's not that type of, look, there needs to be a tier where for your second contract, you have to reach a certain tier.
Oh, I'm sorry, champ. I'm sorry. Denver's up 4 against the Giants right now.
I just saw that.
Sorry to interrupt you. Proceed, big fella.
No, I read the eyes. I'm like, oh, okay. No, because I'm seeing everything you do. I'm just not giving the reaction right about now. But like they used to say when they eat their spicy food on TikTok, no reaction. But yeah, that Miami is what happened. You have to wonder: is it really? Can Miami even pick a team at this point? Is Stephen Ross capable? Is their front office capable? We thought that this was going to be the next greatest show on turf. Eric Waddle, A-Chain, Robert Mosberg, Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill. We thought this was going to be the next greatest show on turf. And to come to find out, it was a dud. This team, offensively, is equivalent to what Dave Wanstead defense was back in the day. Remember, back in the day, Dave Wanstead had a star-studded defense. They had Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain Sr., Brock Marion. They had Zach Thomas on that defense, Junior Seau on that defense. They had
The early Miami Dolphins.
Yes, the early 2000s Miami Dolphins, who Tom Brady adamantly said they gave him his biggest problems, but they only went to the playoff one time. That's equivalent to what we are seeing right now, except on the offensive side with Tua and Tyreek Hill and these guys. They're the offensive version of the early 2000s Miami Dolphins, except the early 2000s was a defensive team, and this one was an offensive team. A lot of promise, couldn't live up to the hype. And you got to ask yourself, where do you go from here? You're already in cap hell. Do you need to move off of Tyreek Hill? How much dead money is that going to cost you at the end of the day? You have a lot of questions that you have to ask yourself at a certain point. You have a lot of questions that you have to ask yourself. Now, whether Josh McDaniel needs to be a head coach or not.
Mike McDaniels,
excuse me. My bad. Thank you for correcting me. Whether Mike, hell, might as well call him Josh McDaniel because he's coaching.
That's how he's looking like. The way he looking at it, the way his button. But again, I don't want to go as far as Josh McDaniels because again, he was.
Yeah, he was cringy as a coach. But yeah, I mean, some coaches just deserve to be offensive coordinators. And I believe whoever gets Mike McDaniel next year as an offensive coordinator, I believe they're gonna get one hell of an offensive coordinator. Not every coach needs to be one. Not every coach that coaches on the offensive side of the ball. I remember back in the day, it used to be a lot of defensive coordinators getting jobs. Remember, it was Dennis Green, then Tony Dungy, and then, a lot of defensive coordinators used to get jobs and they became head coaches. Now it's offensive coordinators, which it was a change of the guard. But just because you're a good offensive coordinator just doesn't mean you're a good head coach. Does not mean that. And Mike McDaniels just fit that mold. And there's a lot of questions around this team. Who do you leave? Who's leaving? Who's quitting? Who's getting fired? And this is a microcosm for Miami because they'll have one good year and then the rest of it, like, that's it. Remember, they had that one good year with that defense I talked to you about, with that Dave Wanstead defense. They had Ricky Williams that year. He led the league.
Let's not forget 2008, because remember, that was the year when Brady went down with the knee injury and Chad Pennington.
Yeah,
I think they went like 12-4, lost to the Baltimore Ravens in the wild card. Yep, the Wildcat with Ronnie Brown.
Yeah, running by Ricky Williams. They'll have one good year and then the rest of it just like.
And I feel bad for my guy, our guy Luis. Shout out to Luis. Please go check him out regarding pod, his wrestling, his cartoons, and stuff like that. Does a great job, but man, he
been saying don't sign Tua.
Yeah, he did. He was never Tua was never his cup of tea. He's been on the record about that, so we got to tip him to that. But again, with Miami, okay, if we don't pay Tua, who are we going to find to replace? We got to find somebody in the draft, and if he has another solid or decent season, are we going to pay him even more money than what we given him? And you
No, man.
can't trade him at this point because nobody wants him. He's
Again,
damaged goods because he can't stay healthy. I
uh,
mean, telling Tua to stay healthy, sorry, champ, it's kind of like you staying away from the damn refrigerator. There's
yep.
no chance that's gonna happen.
What? Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
stay
that's
away.
like Arthur Smith trying to do his job and call offense. But the thing is, with Miami, you made your bed, you lay in it. Hey, to your part, you did your part, giving Tua some weapons and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and at one point Jonu Smith and A Chain. So you've given Tua talent to work with. My thing is the reason why they should bench Tua, not just because of the turnovers, his attitude, champ. How he blew threw teammates under the bus, even if it was true that they were missing meetings or being late to meetings. What do you hope to accomplish by airing that out? And meanwhile, Tua, we all know your play. I'll read the stats and I'll read the stats again. You have thrown 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I mean, if you look at the numbers right now with Tua Tagovailoa, I'm just reading it right here. Reading it right here. Sorry. Oh, 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. You on pace to throw 24 interceptions. So and you lead the league in turnovers as we speak. And the reason why they brought Mike McDaniel there was to help you primarily because you had issues with Brian Flores. And Brian Flores wanted Justin Herbert in the draft, even though Justin Herbert is not playing particularly well against the Indianapolis Colts. But obviously, Champ and I, if we had a chance to get Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa, obviously we're going to take our chances with Justin Herbert. And look, with Tua, he needs to be benched because he needs to be taught a lesson. The players, they don't respect him.
No.
And whether Quinn Ewers is the guy or not, we don't know. Only time will tell. But it's time to bench Tua and go and move on from him. But after this season, I don't think you can trade him. And even if you do decide to trade him, what are you going to get? A sixth, a seventh, a compensatory pick? I don't know. You're not going to get much for Tua.
It's sad. But to your point, remember that conversation that we had last week when we were talking about Michael Jordan, right?
Yes.
Okay. You remember how rough he said that Brian Flores was on him, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you remember how he kept saying, I've never had a coach that empowered me outside of Nick Saban more than Mike McDaniel, right?
Yes. I
Okay.
remember because he was asked a question about the difference between Brian Flores' leadership and his coaching compared to Mike McDaniel's.
Okay.
And
Do
I
you
didn't have
think?
a problem with Tua saying that because, again, like it or not, he was being honest. He's giving us his experience, his perspective on it. And if we
Yeah.
want players to be honest, hey,
Yeah. But it goes back to that conversation I had. I mean, the guy who's being the roughest on you probably see the most in you. And guess what? When you have Mike McDaniel's lackluster coaching style, then a lot of times that doesn't get things done. Just being very, very honest. Do you really think that that would have happened, guys missing meetings, if Brian Flores were there? No, indeed not. He wasn't having it. And I hate the fact that a lot of these players don't want coaches to coach them hard. You have to be coachable. And the thing is, a head coach would have addressed certain things like that in particular, especially with you calling out your players in the media. You can't call out players in the media. Now, granted, you're the quarterback, you're going to address certain things. But the thing is, you have to make sure that you're doing it in a way to say, hey, we need to do things a hell of a lot better than what we're doing right now. You don't have the respect of the players. You don't have the respect. You don't have the backing of the coach. The coach probably going to get fired next year. Depending on who they bring in, it's bad for you. So, hey, Tua, You on your way out, Mike McDaniel on the way out. Where do you go from here?
Only thing, champ, look, I don't like I said before, champ, with coaching, I don't believe someone has to yell on you, get on your you know what in order for you to do your job because you should be responsible enough to do your job. Not that I don't mind someone holding me accountable, champ. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I just look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid, he may be he doesn't yell that much, he doesn't yell or cuss that much, but he's respected and revered. And in fairness to Andy Reid, at least he's been to Super Bowls and won Super Bowls, despite some of the problems he's had with his players, whether Rashee Rice, Kareem Hunt, several
Mm-hmm.
others. At least he's been able to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing, Tua. Your play has not been up to par. It's not been to the standard that the Miami Dolphins hope because they drafted you with the 5th overall pick. And you already had durability issues coming out of Alabama. Remember, Champ, the reason why he lost that. Remember, when he took over for Jalen Hurts back in 2018, the reason why he lost the Heisman and Kyler Murray out of my Oklahoma Sooners won it was because of that SEC championship game against your Georgia Bulldogs. Amongst all the competition, that was Tua's toughest test. And in that game, he didn't play particularly well. He had a touchdown and he had 2 picks. He couldn't finish the rest of that game due to injury. Jalen Hurts was the backup at that time. He scored 14 unanswered points to help the Crimson Tide beat your Bulldogs. And look, Miami, you made your bed, you lay in it, you caused this problem. And for Tua, even if he takes responsibility, even if he goes on and says, "Look, I take full responsibility for my performance," no one's going to buy it. Sadly, because of what you previously said.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for Miami, hey, they made their bed. They got to lay in it. They got to clean up house. But we don't know what's going to happen. But champ, speaking of cleaning up house, like I said, I told you about the Washington Commanders. I did not pick the Washington Commanders. I told you I wasn't falling for the okie doke. You had Washington in that game. Unfortunately, with Jaden Daniels, I mean, he's done for the rest of that game due to that hamstring injury. I'm afraid. Thank God the injury wasn't as worse, but he's gonna miss some games because he already missed a couple of games due to the sprained knee. What do you think? What the hell do you think him missing a hamstring injury? And you just got to give your hat to Dallas. Like I said, Dallas is just too damn good at home, champ. And
Yep.
you're seeing it with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is playing his best football since 2023. If it were not for Baker Mayfield, you would look at Dak Prescott as the favorite for the MVP. Josh Allen has struggled the past couple of games. Justin Herbert as well. Outside of Baker Mayfield and maybe Bijan Robinson, who definitely deserves MVP conversation, it's Dak Prescott. You look at the numbers, you look at what he's had to do without CD Lamb, what he's
Mm-hmm.
doing with George Pickens, what he's doing with Jake Ferguson, not to mention that horrible defense that he has. So, regardless of the circumstances, he's still able to thrive. And they're just so damn good at home, champ. That's one of the reasons why I picked Dallas over Washington. Do you think I like to pick Dallas over Washington? No, of course
Oh,
not. Absolutely not. That's like you picking the Saints over the Falcons.
yeah, that's not gonna work. But hey, underestimated the Cowboys today, but luckily for me, they won. Mama's happy. Um, hey, Dallas came out there and did their darn thing, man. And look, defense did a hell of a job too. I thought there was going to be score after score after score. It was like, hey, you
Yeah,
know,
Washington had a lot of drop passes, and they lead the NFL in drops this season.
yeah, there's a lot of back steps that's going on. Not just I know people love taking it easy, but it's a sophomore jinx. No, it's a multitude of things.
Remember, no Terry McLaurin, no Debo
No,
Samuel,
people
and we
saying
expected. And there was a feeling you kind of anticipated Terry to regress this season because remember, after coming off that great season last year,
no
he
training
held
camp.
out, obviously because he wanted his money. I had no problem with him getting his money. Eventually, he got his money, but I had questions about what type of shape, what type of condition he was going to be. and as far as with the chemistry. Debo, listen, we can't say anything more about Debo. Debo's had a solid start this season, a solid start to the season. And it was a concern losing him because other than Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt and Jeremy McNichols, who's going to provide us the running threat as well as Jaden Daniels?
Mm-hmm.
And Dak, I mean, you can't, I mean, he's been balling. George Pickens has been balling. Ty Smith, they've done their part as far as protecting um Dak. But at the same time, champ, with Washington, they got to stop bringing in veteran guys. And they got to get guys, they got to get younger players so that they can develop. You've often said it yourself. The definition of insanity is doing something more than once and expecting a different result.
Absolutely.
And in no way it's anything comparable to, my God, Daniel Snyder. Because remember, look at some of the hirings he made as far as game players. I mean, Bruce Smith, Deion Sanders, yeah, they put fans on the edge of their seats. Yeah, you were selling tickets, but these were players that were at that point not at their prime.
Mm-hmm.
And Washington continues to bring in veteran guys. You got to get in. You got to get in some young guys who you can develop. The cornerback position that they need to improve upon. I mean, they drafted Emmanuel Forbes. I wanted them to get Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, who's a physical cornerback and has speed. And when you're going up in that division, like the NFC East, when you have to deal with AJ Brown, CD Lamb, and hopefully when he comes back from injury, Malik Neighbors, you got to get yourself a corner. And you also got to get yourself another cornerback. Now, I don't mind Bobby Wagner from the standpoint, well, he's familiar with Dan Quinn because of their days in Seattle with the Legion of Boom. So that's understandable. But Washington's got to stop relying on older veteran guys to help save them. Yeah, it's great to have them to help mentor the younger players, but you still got to get them younger players. And you got to get that defensive line together. That's my biggest concerns I have with them.
You know what? I'm gonna just be real. Can I be honest with you? I don't think
Totally.
they expect it to be good this damn fast.
Well, with the new ownership and
Yeah.
considering that they've moved on from Daniel Snyder, look, there was nowhere to go but up. Maybe not as fast because
Yeah.
last year they went to the NFC Championship game first time since 1991, but at the same time, and plus, obviously in a couple of years they're going to move on, they're going to move back to the old
Okay.
stadium in DC. Happy about that. But champ, it's one thing to lose. It's entirely another thing to get your ass whooped. And
Yeah.
that was one of them classic BTA whoopings.
Hey, like I said, I don't think they expected to be this good. I thought they figured that they had time. It was like, we're going to draft this young quarterback. He's going to come in. We're not expecting him to go to the NFC Championship because guess what? I didn't really think that they had enough in order to get to the Super Bowl during that time. But I digress. They got to get that
And the
offensive
Giants just
line.
scored.
Hmm?
Giants just scored. It's now 32-30 Giants.
32-30 Giants. I'm
Yeah.
glad. Damn.
Not just
Jackson Dart.
him, Jackson Door too.
Damn, Jackson Dart. Hold on. They only got 18 seconds left. Let me see what's going on. Let's see what's going on. Oh, yeah, they're in field goal range.
Yeah.
They're in field goal range.
But champ, Giants Broncos just scored 33-32.
Damn, what a game. Damn, what a game. What a game. What a game.
And
Bo
guess
Nick.
what? Cowboys it's gonna be exciting because next week Cowboys got the Broncos.
Mm,
But I'm sorry, big fella. The Commanders Cowboys game.
they got to fix that line. They got to bring in some veterans on the defensive side. They got to bring in some young guys on the defensive side of the ball. Sort of like Atlanta did, you know. Atlanta's a bunch of rookies out there doing their thing. They just want defense, defense, defense because they already had offense kind of figured out. But it's like I stated, I don't think that the Washington Commanders expected themselves to be this great so quick. And now that they are great at this point, it's kind of hard to capitalize on it because you don't have the offensive line capability at this point. Your defense is a little bit older, And it's not that stifling. It's not like you got a bunch of veterans on that team on the defensive side of the ball, and it's a stifling defense. If it was a stifling defense, it'll be a whole other thing. Or a suffocating defense, it'll be another thing. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So they have a lot of things they have to fix. Granted, a quarterback can get you by for 1 year, probably by himself. We've seen magical seasons by quarterbacks. We saw Matt Ryan, we saw Joe Flacco. But if you don't have the recipe around him in order to get him where he needs to be, a line, I would even say, although Zach Ertz is doing good, got to get a young tight end in there just in case he gets hurt. You have a lot of veteran wide receivers. You got to get some guys in here. I mean, remember last year, that was one of the oldest teams in the league with the exception of Jalen Daniels. Right. It was one of the oldest teams in the league. So you got to get some young guys in there so we can develop. He can get developed. These older guys are not going to be here for the next 2 to 3 years. These young guys, they're going to be there. So you got to bring in the correct offensive tackle on the left side to protect this right on the left side. Got to bring in they brought in the correct running back. They brought in him. He's a young guy, but you got to get some youth on the defensive side of the ball. So that way it can hold up well, because the way they was not able to stop the run today, the way they wasn't able to stop the pass today, the deep ball was kind of killing them at a certain point. That's an excuse.
Especially the one where Dak connected with George Pickens before they put to a 12-point lead.
Yeah. I'm gonna just be real. If Dallas can get this defense together where they can just at least be decent. I'm talking about just be decent. I'm not talking about if they can hold teams to 23 points a game. I think they have a chance to do some things. At least get to the divisional round.
I think they can do something in the regular season, become postseason time champ. That's a different story, because we saw 2023 with the Cowboys. Dak was the runner-up for the MVP. Had it not been for value, if it were just based on stats, you could make an argument for Dak winning the MVP, and they laid an egg in that game against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, they laid an egg. A lot of it wasn't because of Dak.
It wasn't because of just Dak. Of course, their defense, they couldn't stop the run, but at the same time, Dak didn't play that well. And even though if you look at the numbers that game, that was in garbage time.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, they at least have to get it to where they can do decent. They get it to where it can be decent, okay, but they have to get it to where, because remember, the 98, and I know it's a bad example. Remember the 98 Vikings, their defense was decent. Offense was impeccable. Defense was
Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss and Chris Carter and them, and with Dennis Green as the head coach. Yeah.
Their defense was decent. Force a few turnovers, force a couple of 3-and-outs, and just don't get drug up and down the field every single drive. Force something to happen so we can get the ball back, so we can run up the score. That's all they need. Force a turnover here, force a turnover there, get a sack here, get a sack there. Decent. If they can get it to where it's decent, they'll be fine. But, like I said, it's a whole nother ball game when you get in them playoffs. It's a whole nother season.
I agree. Let's try to wrap up because I know you got your pod coming up later. Colts and Chargers. I mean, you want to talk about a game? I mean, the Colts, man, they are doing their thing. Shane Steichen right now looking like the runaway favorite for Coach of the Year, because look at the job he has done with Daniel Jones thus far. 23 of 34, 288 yards, a couple of touchdown passes. Jonathan Taylor, definitely in the discussion for Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, 16 carries for 94 yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. I mean, Justin Herbert struggled. Despite 420 yards, he threw a couple of interceptions, one in the red zone. Champ, are the Colts for real?
It looks like it, because they beat a team not even the Kansas City Chiefs could beat. And look, Daniel Jones, this is one of the greatest reclamation projects arguably in league history, man.
Outside of Baker Mayfield.
Well, everybody with some eyes know that he kind of got did wrong in Cleveland. Everybody with some eyes knew that. And after that first season in Tampa, you was able to see, okay, we're able to see a few things here. But anybody with some eyes knew that. But the greatest reclamation project has to be right now, has to be Daniel Jones, because it's just like, you got to remember this. Although Baker did succeed in he succeeded in Cleveland, but when he first got there was no stigma on him at a certain point. Remember when Daniel Jones first got drafted, it was rumored that the Giants wanted to draft him because he reminded them of Eli Manning. Remember,
David
there were
Cutcliffe, their head coach at Duke, and
yeah,
the rapport he has with the Mannings.
yes, rapport he has with the Mannings. It was it was a lot of questions about him from day one. And then he was finally able to make the playoffs and stuff like that. And then once he lost Saquon, there was a stigma behind that as well. So yeah, this is one of the greatest reclamation projects you're ever going to see. Especially, this is what you call taking advantage of your opportunity. The AFC South is weak at this point, very weak. So guess what? They're able to take advantage of their opportunity. They're able to take advantage of their opportunity, and you got to applaud Shane Steichen. And he has to be coach of the year in order to get that squared away. I know people are going to say, well, he's playing in the weak division at a certain point like this, but guess what? Beating the teams that you're supposed to beat is part of playoff football.
I think he deserves coach of the year because of the development of Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at, man, unfortunately, I hate to say with Anthony Richardson, he about out there in Indy. Who knows where he's going to be? But clearly, it was either between him, Anthony Richardson, or Daniel Jones. And the fact that Daniel Jones has been playing more than good, he's been playing outstanding. If that is not an indictment against Anthony Richardson, what is?
Yep. And it is an indictment, but at the end of the day, you got to say this. You got to say this. He was a project quarterback to begin with. He
True.
had no business going that high. I understand that. Look, I get it. Everybody wants their project to come true. The Buffalo Bills had their project in the form of Josh Allen. He came from Wyoming. He didn't come from a particular big-time powerhouse program. He came from Wyoming. Remember, the biggest project probably of them all was Lamar Jackson. Remember, Bill Polian, for all of his greatness, wanted him to switch over and play wide receiver.
Patrick Mahomes.
He was a project. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes. He was a project. There's a lot of these greats that we have right now who are top 1, 2, and 3 in the league. They're a project. Even Jalen Hurts was a project. He was a project quarterback. So
he was.
A lot
because,
of these
because they were unsure about him playing quarterback.
Yes, indeed. And I was unsure about him playing because remember, he didn't throw a lot until he got to Oklahoma. He didn't throw a lot until he got to Oklahoma. Let's just keep it all the way above. It was him. I mean, the RPOs and him doing everything coming out of the backfield as far as in Alabama. He wasn't really just airing it out like a ceiling fan.
No, he wasn't airing the ball the way Tua was back in Alabama. But, Champ, here's where it hurts with Anthony Richardson. Yes, I understand project. And the other problem with the Colts is rather than getting a veteran quarterback, they should have went. They had Gardner Minshew. They should have just let Gardner Minshew start for the remainder of the season so that Anthony Richardson could be further developed, sit and learn, understand what he's doing, just like what he's doing right now, sitting and learning the offense. But too little, too late. What also hurt Anthony Richardson, remember, he said the NFL is easier to process than college. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's somewhere around that ballpark.
Yes, he did.
Remember how the way he tapped out in the game? I believe it was against the Houston Texans. They look at the completion percentage. They look at everything else. And we figured, okay, why is it that this young man is struggling with this type of offense and with some good pieces? Because we know Jonathan Taylor, when healthy, he's a damn good running back. Arguably top 5. He's clearly top 10, arguably top 5. That we know Quinn Nelson, one of the best offensive linemen, one of the best guards in the NFL. Then you look at other pieces around them with Pierce. They also got Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Broad's team. Shout out to Broad Sports, Penn State. So they've surrounded with talent. They've given talent to Anthony Richardson, and still it hasn't come into fruition. And I think that's going to be hold against Anthony Richardson unless he can go elsewhere. Only question is who. You got to go with a guy that he can develop, someone who can develop him. But the problem is projects.
Go to Los Angeles.
Well, I
Go to
think they
Los
may try
Angeles.
to get. Well, I think they may try to get Shador.
Go to Los Angeles. Either him or Sador. Go to Los Angeles. Look, I'm gonna just be real. If I'm a backup quarterback right now, I know Mac Jones. I know Mac Jones is not gonna be there next year. He's gonna
Right.
be on another team.
Yeah,
So if I'm
Sean
making
McVay, Kyle Shanahan.
either Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, that's where the blank you need to trade me next year if you're gonna get me out of here. I want to go someplace where I can sit down, I can learn. I know I'm not and I can put all of my skills to the test. I'm not forced to win. And a lot of these, and some of these quarterbacks, so let's just keep it all the way above. I'll say it in like a kiddie term. They were forced into adult conversations before they were adult situations, excuse me, before they were ready to be adults. Remember, Trey Lance was the number one pick on a win now team. He wasn't ready for that. He was a developmental quarterback at best. With that offensive line and the receivers, and guess what? The Colts expected to at least get to the playoffs. You got to ask yourself, was he ready for that? No. So a lot of these quarterbacks, they're getting forced into adult situations before they're ready to be adults. And that's where the development comes in. That's where the development comes in. And you got to take into consideration styles as well. You know, you being able to go all around and do your thing all over the field may not be, tailor fit to that offense. So, hey, if I'm a backup quarterback right now, whether I'm Sador or whoever, if I get traded, I'm going to ask to go to Los Angeles. I'm going to ask to go to San Francisco. Let me go somewhere where I can learn. I know the quarterback has some injury trouble, and I can get my tape did. So, hey, I really would like to see Anthony Richardson do some things in this league because I think natural ability, how big he is, how strong he is, the rocket arm that he has, he needs to work on his accuracy. He needs to work on his throwing motion. He needs to work on how he processes information.
Or Kevin O'Connell at Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because again, you're not sure with JJ McCarthy with his durability history. And we already said what we said about Carson Wentz.
Yes. Go to one of those three teams. If I'm Anthony Richardson, that's where I'm campaigning to go. Send me to one of those three teams, and please. And if I'm them, I'm not gonna sit around here. I'm gonna literally beg them. Just let me learn. Whatever time I got to put in, I'm willing to do that. Just help me to learn so my career will not end. I just want a chance. I don't want a chance to start. I just want a chance to learn.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. Um, as the man, I really gotta put you on the spot because of this particular question. I know it's nothing to do with the NFL recap, but I do think it's important to bring up because it's relating to football.
Mm-hmm.
A very certain sports personality and journalist, Skip Bayless, is in the midst of controversy because he criticized Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, obviously, the news of him being baptized, and Skip Bayless released a video saying that he has skepticism. He's unsure whether if Travis Hunter is prioritizing football as much, whether football is not his priority. I'm sure you saw a nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho. They criticized him, as well as Ryan Clark, as well as James Harrison and Joe Hayden on their podcast. And my thing is, look, I'll say this again, because we talked about it on last Thursday's pod.
Yeah.
Look, of all the things you can criticize someone for, you're gonna criticize him for that. I mean, look, and again, I'm not the most spiritual, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but however, I do believe in God. If that's really what you're gonna hold against Travis Hunter for him being baptized and questioning whether football is a priority for him, then that speaks a lot about you. And the reason why, champ, I'm not surprised, I know you were astounded. I'm not, because again, history will always repeat itself. I mentioned mentioned we've had conversations about Skip Bayless. Remember, Deion Sanders had to confront him. What he said about Troy Aikman. Okay,
basically.
let's not forget the Dak Prescott situation. Him fat shaming Mike McCarthy, to which Jenny Taft, the former moderator on Undisputed, now the reporter on college football on Fox Sports, called him out for it. So Skip Bayless doing these types of videos and saying all these things, once again, it's another example of who he is. We are what we repeatedly do. If you want to hold Travis, I mean, you're going to hold him for that. That really says a lot about you as a person, as a human being. And it tells me that Skip Bayless has no regard or integrity. If you want to criticize Travis Hunter for his football play, fair enough, because that's what we do as podcasters, as reporters. We just go by what we see and what we know. But to criticize him for being baptized, for him to try to change or develop his life is totally ridiculous. So the floor is yours. I'm trying to be nice. I could be far worse.
I know, and I'm gonna be a little bit nicer. Look, Skip, come on, man. You know what, man? A lot of people don't have the courage in order to give their life to the Lord. Whether they're stuck on the life that they're on, they don't deem themselves worthy. They're trying to decipher on what that means, and a lot of people don't have that courage, man. It takes courage in order to do that. It takes faith in order to do that. It takes that much faith. It takes strength. I've never heard of a person getting. This is how I know it's a new age. Because what would happen if somebody had character issues back in the day? If they, when they went through the draft, the first thing that they would announce is that they got baptized, right? And that would kind of clear up a lot of the character issue. It won't clear it up, but they was like, okay, they're giving their life to God. They're trying to turn over a new leaf.
The
What
benefit
does
of the
that say
doubt.
about their character and how they're trying to develop their character? I remember the same thing that happened. I remember that happened with Marcus Vick, although he didn't get drafted. He was an undrafted free agent down there in Miami. But it used to be where that was applauded. And you know some things are wrong. I'm being nice about it. But when you getting criticized for being baptized, that just goes to show you the one or two things. Either we have lost our blankety blank mind, or some coming that we need to be aware of. Because, uh, man, like I said, I want you to read to all the viewers out there, read between the lines on what I'm saying. Either the world has taken a sad turn, or something else is getting ready to come down here that we need to be aware of, and that lightning about to strike and them horns about to sound very, very soon. And if that is the case, I'm scared. Because, good God, I get
Petrified.
back. I'm
To say scared would
petrified.
be an understatement. I'd be petrified because for anyone to question me being baptized or having any relationship with the Lord, and
That
again, I'm not the most religious or spiritual person in the world, although I do believe in God. For someone to do that, may God have mercy on your soul.
good God. Again, there's so many things that I could get criticized for. I could get criticized for going out and having a party, eating an extra steak at dinner, eating extra ice cream after dinner. there's so much stuff that you can criticize somebody for, and you can say they're not concentrating on the game of football. If they was out here doing all of these endorsements in every commercial and things of that nature, fine. But I'm trying to give my life to the Lord, and knowing, and I know a lot of guys and a lot of women that have done that, and the focus that they have on their craft, on it just increases. It's not to say that they don't go through a lot when they do that, but it's something that flips them because they're not. And the thing is, it was like, I'm trying to kill my flesh. When he says that, it should be applauded. It's like, look, I don't want to be out here. I want to concentrate on God. I want to concentrate on my family. I want to concentrate on football. You know, kind of like on Best Man Holiday, he always said God, family, football.
Not
So,
wrong.
so if I'm getting criticized for putting God first in my life, and then, you know, so I can be a better family man, a better person, and then even a better football player, yeah, either this world has made a dramatic turn, or I need to be scared that my horn's about to go off real soon, because that's some shit that I ain't never heard nobody get criticized. I have heard people get criticized for some very stupid things. Walking down the street late at night with a flashlight, walking down the street in all black, wearing the poo shiesty in front of the police as they walk inside the bank. I've heard people get criticized for a lot of dumb things in life. Eating an extra slice of pizza, although you knew it was the last one. I've heard everything. But hearing something like that legitimately makes me afraid of the earth I'm walking on, because it might start cracking at any minute.
Champ, I think Skip is also trying to do this just to get attention as well. And I think we just unfortunately gave him that attention because with Skip Bayless, he just can't help himself. Again, history will always repeat itself. We mentioned about Troy Aikman. I mentioned about the situation with Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy. Let's not forget DeMar Hamlin, the tweet with DeMar Hamlin. And obviously what led Shannon Sharp to skipping a day and Undisputed. And then, of course, him interrupting Shannon's monologue on his first day back. So with Skip Bayless, he just cannot help himself. He is what he is. And he's what, in his 70s? You would think that a man, and Skip does consider himself a man of faith. You would think that Skip Bayless would know better, but clearly that's not the case. And hearing what he had to say is just nothing but bullshit, champ. It's just bullshit. It's just ridiculous. There are far more important things you could have discussed. You could have been worried or concerned about regarding football. This is your concern? Because he's getting baptized? You question whether football is a priority for him? Either you're just desperate for attention and clicks. It's either who you are, or to your point, champ, we're heading down a dark road that I'm afraid is going to be hard for us.
Yeah, and I ain't trying to get into it on the air, but you know, look, if we get to the day and age where you get criticized for being baptized, then you might want to watch the ground that you stepping on, because it might be shaking beneath our feet in a minute. Because damn, I ain't never heard of nothing like that. Getting criticized for being baptized, that used to be the ultimate accomplishment. That was the thing that, even, let's just keep it all the way real. Even when you had a family member or somebody who went down the wrong path, they trying to find their way back. The first thing they try to do is get within the church, get baptized, get some order in their life. If we're heading down that path, the ground gonna start shaking in a damn minute. And I'm afraid, and I'm afraid. Hey, again, wow, I've never heard of something like that, and I'm still amazed about it today, because for you to say you're a man of faith and then criticizing somebody for getting baptized, you might be anti-faith. But you know, hey, like I stated, and if
Well,
that's
there's
the
well,
case,
there's plenty of them. One particular, Jason Whitlock, and if you look at the latest video of him and what he said about Bad Bunny, just take the time to do some homework or research, champ, because he claims he's a man of faith. That's the epitome of anti-faith. But that's a story for another day.
he a man of faith. Okay, you have faith that his refrigerator gonna be full every night, like mine, or what?
My God.
I'm
But
just being.
anyway,
I got faith. I got faith that I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna find my chicken fingers in the refrigerator. I think that's the kind of faith he has. Mhm.
it's preposterous, but I'm afraid, Jim, this is where we're going, and I'm afraid it's only going to get worse as time goes on. But anyway, big fella, always a pleasure having you on the Sports PSP podcast. And please, folks, new episode of the Sports PSP pod live every Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Any final words before we close the air?
Uh, be kind to one another and believe. Take the word believe and do what you will with it. Take that and do what you will with it, because the way I'm still in shock about that, because the way we going right about now, the way everything is going within the ground that we walking on, it might start shaking soon. And if you don't, hey, you might find yourself in a bad state of affairs. So just believe. Do with that information what you will. And hold your families close. Hold your families close. Be close to your family. This is the holiday season. Let go of any grudges that you may have, any strife that you may have, any ill will that you may have, man. Now's not the time for it. Life is too short.
All I'm going to say is one thing, man. It's really not that hard to just treat people the way you want to be treated. It's really
Mhm.
not hard. It's really not complicated. You're making it more than what it is. Be mindful to other people, because not everyone may have some of the good types of things that you have.
Right.
In the words of the late great Robin Williams, everyone is battling something you know nothing about. Be kind always. Those are my final words. But always a pleasure having you on, big fella. We'll do a live Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to the Sports PSP pod. And we is out. Peace.